Greetings, Tom Earl here. Welcome to the celebration. We're going to do things a little bit differently on this episode. We're going to call these our intermissions, where right now I'm bringing you some back to back series where I've been interviewing folks for episodes that stretch anywhere between 4 to 6 episodes. So we're just going to do these intermissions to get a chance to catch our breath, to reflect. And guess what? We're going to play music. So, what I recommend is you use these as, you know what? Use it however you'd like. But what I'd like to invite you to do is just go ahead and take a deep breath in here on the count of 3 with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Breathe in and release. And on this next one, we're going to breathe in through our nose, and then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. And you breathe out whenever you'd like. So we're going to breathe in together at the same time, you and I. And when you're ready to breathe out, you do your thing. So I'm not going to say breathe out. So don't go holding your breath, waiting for me to say breathe out and then you pass out because you're waiting for me to say breathe out. Don't let that happen, okay? Before we get to that, you do not have to have your eyes closed. You do not have to be standing still. I myself listen to things like this during my most chaotic moments. Take, for example, a car full of people having conversations from the back and the front, things being thrown, all kinds of chaos, LA traffic. I like to listen to something kind of calming like this in my ears. So now the way that I normally do that is I create these pirated mixes. And basically what I do is I download a meditation or a lecture offline off YouTube. There are ways to download things off YouTube, pirating, obviously. And then I edit out my favorite parts of it. And then I download my favorite instrumental music from YouTube, also pirating it. And I create these amazing mixes where it's just like awesome music and somebody just talking some peaceful stuff. Now, I cannot share those with you. I cannot share those with anyone. I can not even, I deny that everything I'm saying is fiction. I'm making this up. I don't actually do this. You see what I'm saying here? This is you can't pirate people's music and lectures and release it and call it your own. That's, not right. But I can listen to it by myself without sharing it with anybody. Okay, I can do that. But I have found it to be super relaxing. So what I did is I went out and licensed a bunch of music. And then I'm going to be the one talking. Okay. So basically, maybe I'm just creating these for myself. I look at and by the way, I know you're like, when am I supposed to do this? Next breath. So I went and looked, and like every 2 years, I look and see how my podcast stats are doing. And I appreciate the one person who listens to every other episode. It's good to know. My friends, especially if you're an entrepreneur or an artist or any of that kind of stuff, there is such a push to monetize everything. Oh, you're passionate about that thing? You should monetize it, because then if you do the thing you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You know, that kind of stuff that many of us, including myself, were like, that sounds like such a good idea. And then you get in there and it's a lie. Ooh, this is a nice little acoustic going on there. So this podcast at this point in my life costs me money. It does not make me a single dollar. I lose money on this podcast. And it has been this constant companion that has been with me through it all in terms of my business, or whatever word we want to use here. And I have never deleted an episode. I don't know if where I host these, they're like cutting me off at a certain amount, but I guess it should be on YouTube. I don't know when I got myself organized enough to also put this podcast on YouTube. So they're out there. And so it's kind of a surreal thing to have this audio, these audio time capsules that go all the way back to 2016. It's an interesting thing to reflect upon. I once heard this person put forth, if you found yourself in heaven with they weren't talking to me specifically, they're talking to all of us, but of course I resonated. But they said if you found yourself in heaven with the same problem making mind that you have, it wouldn't be long before you'd find something to fix. That blew my mind, because it was like, it is so true. The way that we have been shaped into using our minds through socialization, education, employment, so much of it favors that everything has to be rational A to Z. So to me, this is the time that I have been leading up to for you to take that deep breath. And remember, you're going to breathe in through your nose, and then you're going to breathe out through your mouth. But I'm only going to tell you when to breathe in. You decide when to breathe out. All right. I think you've had enough warning. Gave you enough time to prepare yourself. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. So I'm not sure if you have ever had the great fortune of, I'm trying not to say it without laughing. I'm trying to say it without laughing, but this is serious. But I just know how this is going to sound as soon as I say it. So I'm just going to say it. Have you ever watched The Wizard of Oz on mute with Dark Side of the Moon playing on loop? I know what you're thinking. Okay, so for the 99% of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, if you start Dark Side of the Moon, an album by Pink Floyd, if you start it after, now don't quote me, you should Google this, but I'm pretty sure it's after the third roar of the lion in the start of the credits. If boom, you hit play and then you put it on loop. So you end up playing Dark Side of the Moon, I believe, 2.5 times. And the album syncs up perfectly with The Wizard of Oz. Take, for example, there's this song on the album called Money. Like the one that's like, we gotta pause the music again. It's the one that's like, do do boo do boom 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 boo do boom 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 money. That one, you know what I'm talking about? Okay, cue the music. So when that song comes on, that's when the Wizard of Oz goes from black and white to it all being in color. And there's also in the beginning song, I believe it is, we gotta pause the music again, where it's like, breathe in the air. That song, that part, there's like this part where he goes, don't sit down, it's time to give another one. Okay, we're gonna put the music back on. So during that part, it's interesting because what happens is one of the people like sits down, and then when they say that line, they like get up. So it syncs, okay? Trust me. Now, I don't know if it was Roger Waters or one of the good folks from Pink Floyd. They wanted to research why did this sync up? Why did Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz sync up so perfectly? And what they found. Now, first of all, this is all through my friend Greg, okay? So this is through Greg's research before I start putting out facts that I know to be unequivocally true. So this is through the oral history, okay? This is the oral history here, folks. Okay, so anyways, the oral history has it that basically they researched why this happens and came to the conclusion that how do we want to phrase this? That things sync up in life all of the time. And the reason that made me think that is because when I did the finally like breathe in, I had no plan of when I was going to have y'all breathe in that second time. I'm just speaking from the heart here. But it coincided with the end of a song, and I had no way of knowing that. I don't have the songs, and I just basically put a bunch of songs. I put like 14 minutes worth of songs together. But it just synced perfectly, and it reminded me of the Pink Floyd, and life syncs all the time. And what's really, really tough is it's hard to see it sync when we are zoomed in on the timeline. When you get some space on the timeline in your own life, I myself, right now, 35 years old, I may, if I am blessed, get another 35 years on this timeline, right? So something happening in my life right now, I potentially might have another lifetime worth of context. And then if you just zoom out generations and generations and generations and generations and generations, right, you start to get into the billions of years. You start to get that kind of context. And I don't know if we'd have any more answers, but I bet we'd certainly have a lot more observations to add to the ruminations. So a lot of times, my friends, you just don't have enough data points. You just gotta let go of trying to squeeze it into an answer and just let it be an observation. And then give the timeline some space. I love you. I appreciate you giving me the space to experiment with what my podcasts are going to be, because this felt really good. If you want to be a part of a awkward, experiential storytelling community, tomearl.me/DCM invite, or head to the notes. I appreciate you. I invite you to find space for stillness and a place where you can be all by yourself and take off every mask that you feel like you have to wear. I'll see you next week for another intermission. As always, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.